Labour's plans to ban smoking in pub gardens is stupid and overbearing. But one MP demonstrated their outrage in a manner even more divorced from reality. Former Minister for Common Sense, that's actually what they did call her, Esther McVey, tweeted this on Thursday. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. Pertinent words, Starmer's smoking ban is what she says at the end. now, following a backlash, Esther McVey doubled down again. So she hasn't deleted this. You know, sometimes you've got to respect someone for sticking by their guns, but it is a really stupid tweet because I suppose it's there. This is how Esther McVey responded. It was a screenshot of a notes post on Twitter. Nobody is suggesting that banning smoking outside pubs can be equated with what happened to the Jews at the hands of the Nazis. It's a really fantastic first sentence in any apology. Something to aspire to there. It is ridiculous for anyone to even suggest that that was what I was doing. Well, you did do the Noemala poem and said this is related to that, so you can see what happened. It is called an analogy, she said. Those who restrict freedom start with easy targets, then expand their reach. She's still comparing people smoking in pub gardens to communists and Jews in Nazi Germany. I'm pretty sure everyone understands the point I was making and knows that no offence was ever intended and that no equivalence was being suggested. This new socialist government should send shudders down everyone's spine, imposing laws it has no mandate for, whether removing money from pensioners, removing freedoms from individuals, presiding over a two-tier system of policing and justice. This is all over the place, this apology. I will not be bullied into removing a tweet by people who are deliberately twisting the meaning of my words and finding offence when they know none was intended. We already have too much of that politically correct bullying designed to silence any free speech they don't like. If they think I can be bullied in that way, then they have picked the wrong target. Someone has to make a stand against the metropolitan politically correct bullies. It is not my tweet people should be outraged about, but Starmer lying to get into power and then taking people for fools. Aaron, we'll talk about Keir Starmer's sort of smoking policy in a moment, which I think we probably both agree is pretty ridiculous. Let's start, though, on the Esther McVey tweet. Well, the people who were offended by her tweet, I mean, I saw more people ridiculing it, to be honest, than being offended. But were they wrong to think that she was comparing people smoking outside pub gardens to the victims of the Holocaust?
Well, she says it's an analogy, but for an analogy to work, you have to view something as broadly comparable. I mean, otherwise it's not an analogy, and that's the whole point of an analogy. We have to remember, of course, that in 2023, in Rishi Sunak's reshuffle, Esther McVey was made a minister without portfolio, but it was briefed to the newspapers that she would be the Minister for Common Sense. She would be leading Rishi's anti-woke agenda, and top of the list was banning civil servants wearing pride lanyards. I mean, this is the caliber of people we're talking about in the Tory party right now, Michael. One of my great regrets from the last general election is that she managed to keep her seat just. I think her majority is less than 1,200. Look, we need to flush out as many people like this when it comes to British politics as humanly possible. We talked about Jazz Atwell a few minutes ago, a slum landlord, Labour MP. He should not be an MP. Esther McVey should not be an MP for a very different reason. She's completely talentless. She has absolutely nothing to offer. As I've said so many times, we are only given 650 legislators in this country. They should be good. Okay, the caliber on show from all of them, really, frankly. There's a handful who are actually highly impressive. Highly impressive. There's many more that are quite impressive, wantonly impressive. If you agree with them, you might be impressed. If you don't, you won't. But there are many. I haven't the slightest idea what the hell they're doing there. Esther McVey is one of them. I mean, you'd honestly be better off just the first person you see on the street or in the pub and saying, look, you're going to be an MP for a constituency. They will be better than Esther McVey. By the way, that's something I really believe. If you randomly chose 650 individuals and you made them MPs, and then they had to form parties and alliances over a period of time, I genuinely believe they would do a better job than the House of Commons. And I know people are going to get upset with me if that's not anti-politics, left populism. It's called sortition. It used to be the base of Athenian democracy. I mean, I'm saying that it would be superior with women involved and no slave class. I do genuinely believe it would give us better MPs than the calibre we have right now. And that's particularly true on the Tory side. I mean, it's really, really extraordinary how stupid many of these people are. We saw Jacob Rees-Mogg being briefed as a potential, he wanted to be the Chancellor under Liz Truss. We would have had a nuclear submarine docking at Liverpool. Is that even possible? I don't think so. I'm plugging it in, just like an iMac with a USB-C to show how good nuclear power is. I have no idea. And apparently this was going to win votes. So yeah, it really underscores how awful our political system is. And as much as we talk about the problems besetting Keir Starmer right now, look, after 8 weeks, he looks very remote, dislikable. Partly, of course, that's the result of him winning a general election, forming a government, and then having recess. Partly, it's they've had no sort of strategic communications efforts after winning. They've pissed off lots of different interest groups very quickly. I don't really know what they stand for. I don't know what their brand is. They won 33.5% in the general election. They should be on a permanent campaign footing, frankly. They can't lean into the authority of office when they've only won 1 in 5 eligible voters, which is what happened in the July general election. For all of that, for all of the problems of the Labour Party, you would still bet if there was a general election tomorrow, they would get the same majority because the Conservative Party are in such a mess. They are in such a mess. The quality of the people on those benches is so low. And there's not that many of them. They've got their fewest number of MPs in modern history. Well, since the existence of the Conservative Party, the modern Tory party. So they're in big trouble. And I think this kind of comment, I mean, we can laugh at it and mock it and we'll post a clip and it'll do well. And people go, stupid Esther McVey. But it really underscores a deeper problem for British conservatism, both at the intellectual, ideological level. What kinds of people these days want to become Conservative MPs? But also a very short to medium term problem, which is the calibre of people they have right now on the benches in the House of Commons is not very high. And if you're going to try and make a comeback ahead of the next general election, you're not really giving yourself many top people in terms of leadership, in terms of shadow cabinet, in terms of trying to change the political conversation in this country ahead of 2028, 2029. It's a very, very, very low level of personnel when it comes to the Conservatives. And by the way, the one person who rubs their hands together at that is Nigel Farage.
And I mean, on the policy in question, it's a weird one because I'm very much against it. I think sort of stopping people smoking outside pubs is just incredibly authoritarian. I mean, there would be more damaging authoritarian policies, but I think it's very unnecessary. The smoking ban inside pubs was, I think, a good thing because secondary smoke does matter. If you're outside, you're really not affecting anyone else. Also, smoking areas at clubs are a really good place to meet people. I think if you get rid of that, I mean, I don't smoke, but I have a cigarette outside a club because it's a good excuse to talk to people. I think getting rid of that would be stupid. At the same time, Aaron, this is one of those policies where the public do kind of like it. I haven't seen anyone on Twitter defend it. People from the left and from the right seem to think this is stupid. I agree. The public seem to like this ban if it were to go ahead. And I suppose it does potentially say something a little bit depressing about our politics, which is the government, and this seems to be Keir Starmer's line as well, so don't expect too much from the government. We've got no money, we can't really do anything, we can't really build anything. We're not going to make your life much better, but we will ban stuff if it's popular with presumably the older generations. What do you make of it? Are you depressed by this story this week about banning smoking outside pubs? Or as a new father, maybe you've become tougher on cigarettes than you used to be?
No, I mean, I'm known as a sort of resident. I'm Nigel Farage of Novara Media, Michael. You and me are the right wing of Novara Media, whatever that means. I think this is a stupid policy. With any policy, you have to have trade-offs. And the original smoking ban had trade-offs. Those were big health upsides for people like me. I'm an asthmatic. I used to work in bars when I was 18 before the smoking ban, Michael. Can you believe it? My first job was in a nightclub. Smoke everywhere. Me giving out all the free drinks to all my mates whilst having an asthma attack. There were trade-offs, right? But I think now we've gone past that point here. So with regards to outside smoke, the trade-offs don't. We were curtailing people's liberty for a really, really good reason, right? Public health. And I don't see those trade-offs here. In terms of the polling, what you're saying in terms of popularity, I mean, it's not quite true. 50% support it. Maybe you've seen a different data. 50% support it, 35% don't. If you take away don't knows, but 50% is, it's not a majority, right? And I would suspect that the people that really oppose it feel much more strongly than the people that support it. And I think if there was a case made that this would actually have big impacts for pubs and whatnot, I mean, I presume it would. If you'd like to smoke with a drink, you'd rather do it at home, I imagine, if it's banned. So as a civil libertarian, I have a problem with it. I supported the smoking ban, like I say, because of you do the cost benefit. I don't think that's the case here. And by the way, that policy, that smoking ban, is very successful. If you look at the rates of people smoking, it's nosedived, and there's a very clear direction of travel. We're already having a ban with regards to people below a certain age never being able to buy a cigarette. So I honestly think this is about the government trying to be seen to be doing something, and I think that rarely makes for particularly good policy. There are lots of things I'd like to see banned. I hate people watching TikToks and Instagrams and playing music on the quiet carriage in a train out loud, right? I hate it anywhere. But to go onto the quiet carriage of the train and be playing your phone, that should be banned. I care more about that than somebody having a cigarette in a pub garden. I genuinely care more about that. There are lots of things I'd love to see banned. And I think that given the initial smoking ban, given the trade-offs and given the sacrifices that smokers had to make, I think, like I say, legitimate, justifiable. It strikes me as quite unfair. I have many friends who smoke, and I'll go outside with them when we have a pint, and that's just something they do. And it seems almost like cruel and vindictive. And I'm not saying that as somebody who's a non-smoker, pick me, I'm on your side. I genuinely take civil liberties seriously. I mean, I'd like to see the decriminalization of drugs. It'd be very strange for me to be pro the decriminalization of cannabis, but also pro this smoking ban. I don't think the trade-offs make sense.